Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Sub Hub Podcast. I'm Dani Moreno.
And I'm EmKay Sullivan.
And today we have a fun agenda for you. We're going to be doing a couple of recaps of the past weekend's results, including Broken Arrow and Mount Washington. We are also going to do a preview of Mont Blanc Marathon, the second stop of the Golden Trail World Series this year. And then please stay tuned because we're going to be chatting with recent back-to-back champion, Stian Angermund from Norway. Really big weekend and excited to chat with EmKay about it.
Yes, I know. A ton of good sub-ultra results for us after Worlds was good, but I feel like we're finally back into like the swing of things.
Yeah, I know. I feel like this entire month is just going to be nonstop for athletes participating in races, but also just like anyone who's a fan of the sport. You can just like geek out on every weekend and be following some sort of big race, which is really fun.
Yeah. So let's get started with Broken Arrow, which happens in Alpine Meadows. And it's hands down one of the most competitive like sub-ultra races in the US. I think mostly because Brendan Madigan offers not only a great race, but a huge prize purse, which, you know, we all like.
Yeah, it's been really cool to watch this race just continue to grow upon itself. Like EmKay said, lots of great prize money, which, you know, money speaks to a lot of professional athletes, especially when it's their profession and their livelihood. But also just like the atmosphere there always looks really fun. And I think what I really appreciate about Broken Arrow the most is that even with the conditions each year, they like make it happen somehow and like try to adjust.
Yeah, I loved watching the videos of them like carving out stairs and like,
Yes.
I don't know if you saw the ones of people like glissading down in the slides, like on their butts during the 43K.
Yes, no, I definitely
stuff.
love that. Yeah, it was an interesting weekend because when it came to the weather for Broken Arrow, they started with the VK on Friday. And bluebird skies looked to be, you know, everyone was pretty much just like in a normal racing kit. Then you got to Saturday, which was the 43K. Shout out to Helen, who is a friend of the pod. She got the women's win there in a very dominant fashion. And she's definitely someone to continue keeping your eyes on. She's already, I would say she's past the rising star phase, but I think she's just going to do bigger and bigger things in the coming years and probably later this year. And then sadly, the 23K on that day, they had 80 mile per hour winds on the ridge. And they were like, this probably isn't safe for the athletes and everyone participating. So they actually ended up rerouting the 23K to doing 2 loops of the 11K. And that looked like a really fun time. And I'm sure as a spectator it was actually really cool to see that kind of like 2 loop format for even a shorter race.
I know. And it's funny because as somebody who like really digs the 50K distance, the reason I haven't done the 48K or whatever it is at Broken Arrow is because I don't want to do 2 loops. And then you get there for the 23K and they're like, just kidding. We got 2 loops today.
Yes, definitely. But definitely the right call. And it ended up looking like the weather for that lower part of the mountain was safe and fun for everyone, which was cool.
Yes. So on day 1, we had the vertical K, and our men's results for that race in first was Andrea Roston at 39:51. Darren Thomas, who has been injured for a year. I had a feeling he was going to finish in the top 3, but he has been out for so long that it was like, who knows how that's going to go. But he got second in 41:10, so only 20 seconds behind first place. And then in third was Henri Monod and in 41:29. So those times are pretty sick compared to previous years. I think they did finally shorten the course again after it had been rerouted a couple of times for construction, but looked like a really close race.
Yeah, honestly, what stuck out to me was 4 out of the top 5 are from different countries. Like, it's just like a testament that Broken Arrow is becoming more of a internationally recognized event. Stian, who we talk with later in this episode, he even mentions Broken Arrow. He's like, oh, Broken Arrow looks like fun. So it's really exciting to have, at least for me and EmKay, somewhat of a local race starting to blow up on the international scene. And again, just a testament to their live stream and all their efforts there. On the women's side, Anna Gibson won in 47:09. She's a member of the trail team, and she had a different double from some people in that she just finished her NCAA career at Washington in the 1500. So I'm sure it was nice to get out there and do her first trail race post college and take the win.
Yep. And in second, we got Jade Belsberg from San Luis Obispo at 48 flat. So only 50 seconds behind Anna Gibson. And in third, Sarah Wilhoit from in 48:25. So like that race was also not that far apart.
No. Yeah. And there's a cool
video. Like it's pretty typical for a VK.
Yeah. Especially I think when the VK is under the hour mark. I think when you start getting like closer to an hour, over an hour, it tends to spread out a little bit more. But there's just like less time to be racing, which I think makes it more exciting. Then we go to the 23K, which fun fact, I am a post Broken Arrow champion, just to, boost my ego a little bit to our listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when it was a 27K, this course has been rerouted many, many a times. But on the men's side, Eli Hemming took the win here at 134. I'm actually kind of bummed we missed him in the preview, just like an oversight on our end, but he definitely would have been a strong favorite if we had noticed that. I don't know. Both of us
I think we did mention him because we mentioned that both Hemmings were doing that insane triple.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Never mind. My bad.
Yeah.
Turtle brain over here. And then in second was Chad Hall in 137. I thought this was like a pretty good effort for him. He recently did a race up in Big Bear, I think maybe like the previous week or 2 weeks ago. So 3 minutes off of Eli. Chad is also my dark horse for the season, so I got some points there. And then third is Mika, who we have an interview with. He's also new to the trail team, recent Stanford grad. And he was third in 138. And I'm so bummed because I missed him on my Freetrail fantasy, and I totally would have put him like top 5. And I'm bummed I missed those points.
I know that was somebody that I think forgot to cover in our preview.
That's probably who I was thinking of then.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on the women's side, you have Allie Mack, who we were like pretty sure was not going to race. And I think she was pretty sure she wasn't going to race either. And according to her Instagram posts, some friends convinced her to race. She won by 6 minutes and like pretty much from what I hear led from wire to wire. Classic Allie Mack. And I'm glad she did it. Big fan of like taking a break if you need to take a break, but like Broken Arrow is something that she has so much experience in, and it's such a supportive environment. Like I'm glad she went out there and just crushed. Anna Gibson comes back from the VK, gets second place in 157.50, and then Tabor Hemming third in 158.55.
Yeah. No, it was really cool to see Allie Mack out there. Like EmKay said, if you need a break, respect there, do what your body needs. But sometimes like stuff like this, I imagine she feels a little bit of healing from Worlds. I know she was really disappointed from that. And so just seeing her smile on her face, like in nearly every picture and video, you could just tell she was having a good time. And then her classic finish with Harley, I think is becoming a staple at Broken Arrow and just all races, them coming into the finish line. And honestly, looking at her, I don't think she was carrying anything. Like I didn't see a belt or a vest, and she just like crushed for the entire race. So that was really cool. And shout out to Janelle Links too. She just missed out on the podium after doubling from GoPro, just a couple minutes behind Tabor there.
Yeah, I know the reroute of the course made it just short enough that I don't think you needed to carry anything. It would be nice, but like definitely not a requirement.
Yes, no, definitely. So yeah, thanks again to Broken Arrow for creating such a really cool event. They, to me, kind of also have helped like push this standardization that like all the distances are equal, especially when you compare like a sub ultra to an ultra. the last few years, the prize money has been the same amount, whereas in a lot of races, the longer races are the same amount. And yeah, excited to get back there one day. It's one of those races I always have on my calendar, and it's just such a busy time. It's hard to get there. But yeah, just big thanks to Brendan and team there.
I know Tommy and I were just talking about this on like the last 3 runs that we've been on. It's like, why do we keep missing Broken Arrow?
Yeah. It's hard.
We'll be back one day, Brendan, I swear.
Yes, I know. Every year I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll be back one day. And then switching from Broken Arrow, before we get into Mont Blanc, there was also Mount Washington. This is a really famous, has a lot of history on the East Coast. It's a road climb for a little over a 10K, or I think it's about a 10K. Joe Gray ended up taking his 7th win there. And he actually beat out Sam Chalanga, which is actually a more commonly recognized name in the road space. And then Tyler Andrews pulled off 3rd on the men's side.
Yeah, this is one of those like crazy uphill races that if you are a road athlete that has like a pretty good climbing ability, the grade pretty much never changes. I think it's something like a 10 to 12% grade the entire time. So if you can just grind it out, it's a fast race for how steep it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe Gray ended up running just about an hour. And Sam Chalanga was 101.54. And then Tyler Andrews was 102.106. And just a quick little call out there is Joe Gray is 39 and Sam Chalanga is 38. So if you're looking for some inspiration on if I will ever get better at uphill, look at these 2 guys. They're just still crushing it.
Just keep practicing it.
Just keep practicing.
And then on the women's side, we have our champion is Amber Friera, followed in 2nd by Mary Beth Chalanga, and then 3rd, Megan Davis.
Yes. And their times were 75.16, 76.03, and 77.46. And then in 4th place was actually Casey Ensman, who recently represented Team USA at Worlds. So that was a nice double back.
Casey was actually not. Yeah, Casey was not at Worlds. She ended up getting sick and was unable to travel. So it's really good to see her healthy and back racing the weekend after.
Nice. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, happy she's healthy again. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So those are the results. Now to Mont Blanc Marathon, a race EmKay and I know very well. We both participated in this race last year. It's been the 2nd stop of the Golden Trail World Series since the Golden Trail World Series has begun. Even before that, I believe this race had like a lot of history to it, just because it's been happening for a little while. And it's kind of like the precursor in Chamonix before the big UTMB week. The course has it's changed over the years, but now it's a loop that starts in downtown Chamonix. You go out towards Valersine, which is kind of like more up in the valley. And then you return back to Chamonix, which is really cool that you get to start and finish at the same finish line. The race is about 26 miles, 26 and a half miles with close to 8,000 feet of vert.
And I think the second half of the race, correct me if I'm wrong, Dani, because you've run these races, covers the final like 10 to 15 miles of OCC, CCC, and UTMB, correct?
It's the final climb is the same as all those races except UTMB. UTMB like drops in a different way, I think. Okay. But anyone who has raced Mont Blanc or any of the UTMB races, I think you like feel it in your bones, the climb to La Flégère. So this happens in like the last 30 to 35K of Mont Blanc, and you've already done so much climbing. This part is really exposed. It tends to have a lot of fans because there's a gondola that you can take to the top there. And so I'm starting to know this climb very well. And if you're feeling good, you can run it, but most of the time you are hiking it and dying in the heat. But this is always a really fun place to watch.
And you can see it.
Yeah, and you could see it the entire time.
You can see it for like like at least 20 minutes.
Yes, exactly. And you could see what's hard too is you see your competitors in front of you and they seem so close, but they're not that close. And what's always really fun about this is it's always going into the last downhill. So there's actually a lot of movement that can happen from this point to the end. And so it's just a very fun tactical part of the race, which is really fun to watch. But as far as Mont Blanc goes, they call it the roller coaster because it is just nonstop. You're climbing or you're descending. The first part, in quotes, is very runnable, but basically it's like a rolling uphill for about 10, 12K before you start the longest climb of the race, which is very steep pitch up and then pretty technical downhill. And then right after that, you go right into more rolling uphill, the climb up to Les Flagères and back down. But yeah, the key to this race is I think you send it. And then you just send it. And that last downhill has a lot of switchbacks too. It's not like the most switchbacks, but it's enough that it can kind of like break up your rhythm. And I think the key to this race is a combination of like figuring out how to stay cool because there are some heat spots, but you just like, you're constantly climbing or going up or going down.
Yeah. And Dani is saying this all from the perspective of someone who crushed it last year and got podium. So yeah, she knows the race.
Yeah, it was, I do have some bias there that I have an enjoyable memory from this race.
Yeah. Such a good race.
Such a good race. Yeah. So yeah, with Mont Blanc this year, what's really exciting, as we mentioned, it's part of the Golden Trail World Series, the second stop. It's at a very interesting time this year because usually you have Zagama and there's only a couple of other races that might like divert people's attention before they do Mont Blanc. But if they're committed to the series, they usually will rest for about 4 weeks before they go into Mont Blanc. But this year, there was kind of a curveball because the World Championships happened recently. So I think as we dive into some of these names, there's not some usual players for not just the World Championship reasons, but many others. But I would say primarily because of the World Championships. And so it's going to be interesting to see people's strategy on whether they show up to this race or not.
Yeah, they're only 2 weeks apart, a little bit more. One of them's on a Thursday and one of them's on a Saturday. But so it's like 16 days between this two very similar courses. The World Championships was 29 miles with 11,000 feet of gain, and Mont Blanc Marathon is 26 and a half with almost 8,000 feet of gain.
Yeah. Personally, when I was thinking I would do, when I was trying to decide, I tend to be a more conservative person with my calendar, just with traveling to Europe. And for me as an athlete, I can't recover as fast as some people for many reasons, but that's just me. So I was going to do Mont Blanc. But then again, there's some really very talented recoverers, I don't know what to call them in our space, that are going to be doubling back. So before we dive into the names, just some kind of like fun facts about Mont Blanc this year. It's going to be live broadcasted on TV channels in the US, Canada, Italy, France, China, Belgium, Africa, Croatia, Slovenia, and most of Europe on Eurosport. So that's a really exciting thing for our sport. They do have, some equipment that they'll be carrying with them, but they are putting an extra emphasis. And this is hilarious because this rule has always existed. It's been very difficult to catch people doing it. Is if you cut the path, so that means if you cut a switchback, that's actually a penalty. And it's a 30-minute penalty. So you could imagine if you cut a switchback, you are probably moving back a minimum of like 5 to 8 places with how close this race is. What do you think about that? At least, what do you think about that, EmKay?
I mean, I'm all for it. That was like something I was super concerned about at the World Championships is like that one of their rules was like, do not cut the course. And I was like, I don't want to get disqualified. Like, I worked so hard to get here. What happens if I see somebody else cutting the switchback? Like, you know, how does this actually work? And you and I both run Mont Blanc Marathon before. People most definitely cut switchbacks. So I'm curious to see if it's something that's actually enforced or if it's just like what it has been in the past where it's just like, those are against the rules, you know, but we're not going to be there. So
yeah, but you ran a course record and that's better for our marketing. So we're not going to say anything.
Exactly.
Yes, but there's going to be camera people with them the entire way. So yeah, I think when stuff is on camera, you're less likely to get away with it. This happened in 2021 at Ola Deniria when people were getting handed bottles and you technically weren't allowed to get handed bottles in some of the rules. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Interesting start list. Let's start to dive into it. We are highlighting kind of like the top 10 favorites on both the men's and the women's side. Let's start with the men. So we have Manuel Marias. He was first at OCC last year. He's won multiple skyrunning series and is always kind of like top 5, top 10 at Golden Trail World Series. But most recently, he was first at Zagama and actually a really good time there, which is awesome. He's definitely going to be a contender in our opinion because he didn't run Worlds. So he's not coming in with like super dead legs. So he stuck to that traditional Zagama, rest, and then into Mont Blanc. Then we have Elyoussine Eloussi. He was 4th at Mont Blanc last year and ended up 2nd overall in the standings. He also was absent from the World Championships, so a little bit more fresh. There's Jonathan Albin. He had won Mont Blanc last year, so he's the returning champion, 2nd at CCC last year and 1st at OCC in 2022. And he was 3rd at Worlds, right, EmKay? Or 4th or 5th?
So he was top 10, but I don't think he was even in the top 6.
That's right.
Yeah, so he did not have the day that like I think either of us expected from him.
Yeah, that's right. But his team ended up winning, so I'm sure that was bittersweet moment for him.
Yeah. With only 3 people.
With only 3 people. Great Britain took the win there.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how he does because, that's 3 big races in the span of a month, basically, or a little about 5 weeks. So we'll see how Jonathan does there. He does have a lot of experience with longer races, so maybe the body's used to recovering. We will see. Another gentleman is the one and only Remy Bonnet, the uphill machine, winner of overall Golden Trail World Series last year. A little bit of a disappointment at Zagama. He was leading most of the race and ended up falling back in position, I believe, to 4th place there. He wasn't at Worlds, which honestly, I was surprised he didn't just go for the VK championship. That was like his chance to really solidify himself as like the VK king. But who knows why he made that decision. And then we have Bart.
Yeah, I would say that is. Oh, sorry. I think I'm a little delayed, but I do think that is a bit of a sponsor obligation. If I had to guess anything.
Yeah, I would guess that too. Solomon puts a lot of emphasis on their Golden Trail World Series. I think that doesn't come as a surprise to a lot of people. It's not like we're sharing some skeleton in the closet. So I'm guessing that's why he wasn't at World. Then we have Bart. He is a Polish runner, Perdziewski, 3rd overall at the 2021 overall Golden Trail World Series. Also had a slightly, we say disappointing, but I think it's just like based on what these athletes are kind of expecting of themselves. So we'll say slightly disappointing performance at Zagama. And then we have Eli Hemming. You want to add some color there, EmKay?
Eli Hemming just won the Broken Arrow, whatever it was, 22K. And he beat Chad Hall, who both of us kind of thought would have a big trail season this year. But Eli is obviously a great athlete. He got second overall at the Golden Trail World Series last year. So he's no joke. And this is his first time doing Mont Blanc Marathon. And it's the week after Broken Arrow. So we'll see how that goes. But honestly, I think he's got a pretty good shot.
Yeah, I think if he recovers well, he actually might be a little bit more fresh than some of these other guys. And maybe something that might swing one way or the other is how their travel goes to Europe, and how that went and everything. But yeah, I think Eli will be up there in the top 5. And then if he can execute on the day, which he's good at doing, I think he'll be up there. Another gentleman is Anders Wittek. He recently got 7th at Worlds. So he falls into that same category. He's the gentleman that finished hand in hand with Stian at Austria, new member of the ASICS Fuji Trail team. So he will be there. We have Manuel Innerhofer. He's a Mexican, or an athlete from Mexico. A Mexican athlete is what I was going to say. An athlete from Mexico. He only ran Sierra Zanal last year, but he took 5th overall in the national series. So he qualified for the national series through the Mexican national series. Sorry, there's a lot in there. And then last 2 guys, Daniel Osans and Anthony Felber. Danny is from Spain. Anthony is from France. Both very, I would say, like veterans of the Golden Trail World Series, have done many of those races, multiple top 10s. And Danny actually recently got 6th at the VK in World. So even though he falls in that like World's Mont Blanc double, he did the VK. So I feel like his legs are going to be pretty good and ready for this.
Yeah, much less of a tax on the legs, more of a tax on the aerobic system. So on the women's side is like totally different from the men's side. We didn't have that many men doubling back to Mont Blanc from Worlds, but we have a lot of women that are doubling back. So our top 10 are Daniela Omis, who actually won Zagama recently. She was in the top 10 at Worlds. I believe she was 7th, but I'm not totally sure. Sophia Lockley will be fresh. She did not run Broken Arrow or the Mont Blanc Marathon. And last year she was 2nd overall at the Golden Trail World Series. She is a Nordic skier from like Vermont or something, who just like broke out onto the trail scene last year by winning. I think the first race that she won was Broken Arrow, and then she crushed at the race in Norway last year. Was supposed to come back for Sears and all, but was one of the athletes that ended up having COVID, and then just absolutely demolished the last 2 American races right behind EmKay, which is huge, obviously, as we know. Caitlin Fielder will be doubling back from the World Championships. She, I believe, was in the top 20. She was 2nd at Mont Blanc Marathon last year, so she has lots of experience in this race. I was with her on the downhill from Aguillette des Poissettes. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm sorry to everyone who is French that listens to this podcast. But Caitlin crushed that downhill and then just continued to crush from there on, just eating people up as the race went on. Therese Leboeuf also just ran World Championships. So these women, and same with Sylvia Nordskar. I feel like I should just list everybody who ran World Champs at this point. So Daniel Omis, Caitlin Fielder, Therese Leboeuf, Sylvia Nordskar, Fabiola Conti, Oyhana Cortazar. And did we decide if Mathilde did run it or not?
No.
So Mathilde did not. But so we have over half of the women in this top 10 who just came off of this really hard 46K last week. And then the other women in the race are Miao Yao, who has mostly run races in China at this point. Tabor Hemming, who just was 3rd at Broken Arrow this weekend. And the women's race, definitely a little definitely a little less fresh than the men's race. But I think that makes it a little bit more exciting because it keeps the Europeans a little tired.
Yeah. I think if I were to guess what's going to happen, something that we should note is that EmKay was signed up for this race. She has her reasons why she's not racing it. I'm sure she'll share that when she's ready. But she pulled out. So she honestly was I was going to see what her and Sophia were going to do up front, because I think this is one of Sophia's, like, her longest race yet. I've only seen Sophia do less than 3 hours. But with that being said, Sophia was at the final with the stage race. So I'm sure she's used to, a lot of hours on her feet, including on skis. But just knowing these women, I'm guessing Sophia might just like go off the front, knowing that people are tired, and see if she can just kind of run away with it. Meanwhile, I would assume that maybe some of the more tired women will hold back and see if she blows up. I don't know if Sophia is going to actually blow up, but like see what happens and if they can catch her in the later parts of the race.
Yeah, I see Sophia Lockley kind of running away with this race just because she is fresh. I was telling Dani before we started recording that, like, I've done some easy running since the World Championships, and like I still feel trashed. So the thought of like trying to go run Mont Blanc Marathon, I would be dragging. And a lot of these women, like you said, are better recoverers, whatever we're using as the term, than maybe yourself and I. But I think a fresh Sophia Lockley versus some of these women tired, it's like, I'd be surprised if she is to be beaten.
Yeah, honestly, I would say so too. I would say, honestly, someone that people might not be thinking that may be able to challenge her just a little bit is Mathilde Sagnes. Mathilde is actually extremely quick, and she was second at OCC behind Blondine in 2022 or 2021, and she didn't do Worlds. So if she is that, like, and also the same year that she got second at OCC, she was just crushing on the French races, like just a bunch of local, more well-known races there. So if she's fresh, she might go with Sophia. I could see her doing that, but I can't. Personally, my body hurts thinking about the triple of Zagama, Worlds, and then Mont Blanc. Honestly, I don't wish this upon anyone, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody dropped out because they just started and they're so flat. And so it kind of brings some new names into this top 10, which actually would be really exciting in my opinion.
Yeah. And I also see some people just not starting this race altogether. Like their names are on the list right now, and I could see people dropping out this week.
Yes. Yeah. Once they realize, they're like, oh shoot, I need to run a hard 4.5 hours. I'm not doing that. And then just a final.
Thank you.
No, thank you. On the guys' side, I think it'll be a little bit more aggressive with a group in front, whereas the women's side, we kind of see maybe Sophia taking it out. I could see Remy going out, Eli going out, Manuel going out, because he knows he has the advantage on technical downhill. So to be there at the right position at the top of that very steep climb after Valersine, or before Valersine, where he can just like probably put 10 minutes on some people. I think that'll be an interesting spot for it. Do you want to call your podiums?
Yeah. Oh God, I don't know if I'm ready for that, but I'll try it anyways. So I would say that my podium today, before any drops, would be Eli Hemming, Remy Bonnet, and then Manuel Marias. And then on the women's side, I think it's probably Sophia Lockley. And then this one's hard for me, but probably Mathilde. And then I think Daniela.
Nice. Yeah, I love how.
What about you?
I love how. I'm going to put Remy in first, and then Manuel, and then Eli. So same guys, just a little bit of a different order. And then on the women's side, Sophia Lockley, and oh my gosh, this is hard. I'll go with Sylvia Nordiskar and Caitlin Fielder in the top three.
All right.
Sylvia, I'm putting Sylvia in there because out of all of these girls, she's done the most longer races. So even though she's tired, she's done a handful of 100Ks. So I feel like maybe she might be a little bit more ready than everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cool. Well
yeah, I'm excited to watch the races. It'll be fun. If you live in Europe, tune in. If you live in the US, hopefully it's on YouTube. And stick around for our interview with Stian Angermund. He was the world champ just a few days ago, basically, and he has actually won this race in the past before. We're excited to chat with him. And today we have with us Stian Angermund. He's a Norwegian trail runner representing ASICS and has cemented himself as one of the best mountain runners in our sport ever. With a string of impressive wins at many notable races, he has secured the prestigious title of Golden Trail World Series champion in both 2018 and 2021. And adding to his already impressive record, Stian recently claimed the world championship in the 46K, which was his second world championship win in 6 months. He won in Thailand back in November and in Austria last week. Welcome, Stian.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for the kind words.
Well, you have a very impressive resume, so it was quite easy to put those words together.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yes. So how are you recovering after Worlds? That was only like 9 or 10 days ago at this point.
Yeah, start to feel okay now. I haven't had any hard sessions yet. I've been starting to do some easy long runs. And the plan today was to do an interval, but because my daughter, she has fever, I tried to do it on treadmill, but she didn't sleep very much. So the hard session was interrupted a couple of times.
Yeah. Were you doing it on the treadmill since she was sick?
Yeah, because then I can't leave home.
Yeah.
Normally I like to run outside because it's the nicest, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have the treadmill there though, so you can train while she's napping or attempting to nap.
Yeah.
So you, like, for Dani and I, are somebody that we know really well because we have been a part of the Golden Trail World Series. Dani's been to a couple world championships. I've been to one now, but a lot of people in America don't know who you are. And so I want to start by just kind of going through your background. I know that you were into biathlon before you were a trail runner. So how long did you pursue biathlon before you switched over to trail running?
Yeah. Let me think. I believe I started biathlon when I was around 12 years old. And I did compete until I was 20, 21 years old or something. So I was not very good at it, but I really love the sport. It's an awesome sport. When you combine two things that normally doesn't work together. And that is super fun. So I did it until like all my friends stopped doing it. And I was tired of going alone independently around. So then I stopped.
And did you get into trail running? Like, I know a lot of Nordic skiers in the US like trail run during the summer as part of their training for Nordic skiing. Is that kind of how you got into trail running?
No, like I did some running during summer because it's natural to do some, for running when you compete on skis. But it was actually a couple of years after I stopped my career, but like stopped doing biathlon. When I moved to the city where I live now, which is Bergen in the west coast of Norway. And then I saw the community here with uphill running. That was a big thing, and I just figured out, that was fun. So that was 2-3 years after I stopped biathlon.
I was going to ask how you got into VKs, but it seems like you just said that Bergen has a really good just like uphill running community. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it has been kind of like a big wave of uphill running races in Norway for several years. That wave has more or less ended now. but we had like tons of uphill races around. Like every hill in Norway had an uphill race. It feels like it. And we had like a national series of uphill running races and national championship. We still have the national championship. And
uphill?
For uphill running.
Cool.
So we haven't called it VK. We don't have like vertical kilometer is something we don't have a lot of here in Norway. But most races are between like, I don't know, 300 to up to 1800 vertical meters. I don't know what that is in feet, but
yeah. That's steep.
Yeah, like it's yes, some races is quite steep. Like we have here in Bergen, we have a famous stair race. It's called Stolsekleiven Up. It's a race where distance is let's me think less than 900 meters, and the elevation gain is 300 meters. So it's like 36% or something.
Yeah.
And the record is less than 8 minutes. So it's like super intense short race. But there are more. This race is organized in September every year, and there are around 5,000 people participating. So it's cool. A big thing. They started one by one, so you can't send everyone together. But it's a fun thing.
So I guess I don't know much about Bergen. I just I didn't imagine. Is it kind of like, do you guys have lots of fjords and stuff in Bergen, or is it? Yeah. What's the geography there?
Yeah, we have fjords here. Not like big fjords, but south and north of Bergen have like big fjords.
Okay.
But we have nice mountains. We call them city mountains. They are nice small mountains with up to 600 meters tall. So it's not tall, but like if you run up and down several of them, then you get a good berth. So it's a nice place for running. And the temperature here during winter is around 0 degrees. So it depends on the winter if you have a lot of snow or not. So, but people are running in these hills the whole year, no matter if it's snow or not. If it's icy, people just put on spike shoes and run with that. And if there's a lot of snow, people just run there. And then after several people pass, then you have a trail there. So there's no problem.
That's really cool. Yeah, this year was, so Dani lives in Mammoth, but this year was the first year that I got like a real winter experience in Reno. We got a ton of snow, and the snowshoers did like such good work packing down the trails for us to like run, just a little bit, because otherwise I was just running on roads this winter, which is not for me.
Yeah, and I think for trail running, you need to do like more up and downhill, I guess. Or it depends where you're racing.
Yeah, for sure. So living in Bergen
during winter?
I always say every single winter, I tell myself like, okay, I'm not going to run as much. I'm going to ski uphill. Like that's going to be what I do. And then I end up signing up for like a half marathon on the roads, and I train really hard on the roads. So I did some uphill skiing this winter. My husband, that's like all he did. He was just hammering it out all winter long. Do you uphill ski in Bergen?
Not in the city mountains, but behind the mountains we have behind there, the snow condition is more stable. And there we do some skiing.
Have you always done that in the winter? Like, do you periodize your training so that you don't run as much during the winter and you run more when it's warmer, or is that something new?
No, I run the whole year.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you were just saying that people run on the hills pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, but we also ski. So like it's a combination during the winter.
And do you more Nordic ski, or do you uphill more frequently?
Yeah, like the last years I've been doing more of this randonnée or ski touring.
Okay.
Like uphill ski. So done more of that. And I think it's fantastic, because then you like make your own tracks. Just go up, and then like it's more, I feel more freedom. Like when you do trail running, you don't need to follow the trail. You can just go up a hill if you want. It's I like the feeling of freedom.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, because when you're Nordic skiing, you're stuck to a track.
Exactly.
It's kind of like road running almost.
Yeah.
Oh man. So bringing your like biathlon back into this, are there because you said that you took like a 2-year break in between from when you stopped doing biathlon and when you started trail running. Like, what were you doing in the meantime? Was that like, you took a total break, or were you doing some other type of training?
Yeah, like I'm not sure, like it was 2 years or 3 years, I don't remember, but I had a couple of years doing minimal of sport. I did, some like longer cross-country skiing races, and I was biking a little bit, but not any like serious training. Just now and then, doing some activities with friends. And then, I just fall in love with the uphill running.
I find that super interesting because I feel like, most people either have been running their whole lives, or like they played a different sport, but they started running while they were playing that sport and like never really had like this break. It was always continuous. So to have our 2-time world champion be someone who took 2 to 3 years of just like nothing really that serious, I think that's cool for some people to hear, that you don't have to be like, somebody who was at the top of your sport for years and years and years to have as much success as you've had.
Thanks. I think it depends on the sport. I think in some type of sport, maybe when it comes to running, maybe shorter distance on track, then you maybe need to start early. But I think in trail running, you don't need to be that fast. It's more about the capacity. So then you can start later on. So when it comes to my break in sport, then I guess some of the reason was because that when I did biathlon, that was a sport I did a lot with my dad. He was like there all the time supporting me, and only compared me with myself, not with the top. I think that was a very genius thing he did. But then when I was almost 19 years old, he died, and I continued doing biathlon for a year or two more. I don't remember. And then I figured out he was not there, and it was not like that fun anymore, and all my friends stopped doing it, and then I also stopped, and I didn't have any motivation for it. And then I took a couple of years, like I was not super motivated for like compete in sport. And then when I moved to Bergen, I started figure out I got the motivation back again, and figured out it was awesome to run in the trails. And what I really like with trail running or sky running or mountain running, whatever you call it, is the combination of movement or movement of running that I think feels fantastic, but also like to hang out in the nature. I really like to hang out in the mountains and in beautiful nature, and that combination for me is just perfect.
Yeah, I totally agree. I come from a track background, and when I tried to like continue doing track on my own and not like for, my team, it was so boring. And so that's why I kind of moved to the trails, is like I just loved moving in the mountains with the scenery, and like there's not really any structure, and it's such a fun sport.
It is, and it's so simple. Like when I did biathlon, you need to wax the skis. You always need to drive somewhere where you can both ski and shoot, and there's like a lot of preparation and stuff. And after the races, you need to like clean your gun and everything. With running, it's just so simple. Just put on the shoes and go. And if the shoes are dirty, you just stand in the river, and it cleans the shoes, and then dries, and it's fine again. It's fantastic.
Yes. Truly. That's awesome. And so I guess in terms of training, do you have a coach, or are you kind of willy-nilly self-coached?
Self-coach. Okay. I never had a coach.
And so where does your training philosophy kind of come from for yourself?
Like when it comes to, I never had a coach. We had like when I did biathlon, we have some like organizing the training everyone us did together, and he gave us some weekly plans we could do. So I guess that was the first time I actually learned something about training. And after that, I've been talking with people and just testing stuff and figure out something that works on my body.
That's cool that you had like an organization that just kind of gave you guys training plans, because you have to be so self-motivated if you like want to like be successful in a sport where they're just like, oh, you could do this, or you also don't have to.
Yeah, true.
And so
I think it's fun to just try different things and figure out what works.
Yeah. What does a typical week look like for you? What kind of workouts do you prefer to do?
It depends a little bit on the year. I do. I have 4 different periods during the year.
Yeah.
So when the season is done, I have an off season that is normally around 3 weeks. And the goal of those 3 weeks is to get as much distance as possible away from running, like physically and mentally. So I try not to run at all. Maybe I do go to the gym or do some stretching, walking a little bit around. If it's good weather, I can do some biking. Mentally, I don't look at Instagram. I don't look at anything that has to do with running. And the goal for that is just to miss running. I always miss running like after a couple of days, but I think it's good to just get some distance away from it. And I've been talking with several runners, and many don't dare to do it. But I think it's in order to be like very focused over time, you need also to disconnect. So that's around 3 weeks, and after that I go through winter training where I focus more on big volume, a lot of elevation gain, and yes, some intervals, but the volume of the intervals is not that big. And after that, during the spring, I go to a new period where I'm focusing more on getting shape for the season. So I still try to keep up a big volume, but maybe a little bit less than during winter. And I have the volume of the intervals are bigger. And during the race season, then the week change, from race to race. It's there I have maybe more specific training sessions, and it could be like a rest week and then preparation week and then racing week, and like it's changing all the time.
Yeah, and especially because I know you've done Golden Trail for a while, and I did Golden Trail for the first time last year, and each race is so different that each little period in between those races is like the training is just wildly insane and different. At least it was true for me.
Well, yeah. What races did you do?
I did Mont Blanc Marathon, so I focused like a lot on vert because that was the most vert I'd ever done in a race. And then after that, I went to Sears and all, so we were focusing on like quicker vert, but also just like getting fast again. And then I did Pikes Peak Ascent. So we mostly just like did the same thing as Sears and all, but I tried to get up to like 10 to 14,000 feet a couple of times, like for training runs leading into it.
Just you get used to the altitude.
Yeah, because I live at altitude, but not nearly that high. And so, those races, like once you get into that season, it's just every little block is so different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's cool though. So you started your career kind of as an uphill runner, and so I'm curious. Obviously, uphill running is really popular in Norway. It's like fairly popular in Sweden as well, but they don't have as many mountains as you guys do. Yeah. Do you wish that like the VK circuit would return? I feel like it's not as popular now as it used to be.
Yeah, I think because of maybe it's many reasons for it, but I think a big reason for less VK or less level in VK is that the whole level of trail running is just get better and better. And when I started doing this, I started with sky running, and there often you have on Friday you have a VK, and then on Sunday you have a sky race. And there was a lot of people did combine it, but now the level is so good that it's you can't combine it, because if you run fast on the VK, then you don't have legs for the sky race. So I think it's sad because I think I really like VKs. So maybe sky running in the future could be a series of, I think they have way too many races. Maybe it could be like 5 races, but all the race weekends, it's double racing. So you need to do VK and sky race and you get points of both. So you have to do both. I think that could be awesome.
That would be awesome. I know that I was thinking about that because I saw that you had won the Zegama VK and like the Zegama race in one weekend. And I was like, how did he do that? That's insane. But like, I mean, it makes sense if you kind of started in the sport doing this like double the VK to sky race thing, it's definitely doable. You just have to make, like, if everybody's doing it, it's doable. But now, like you said, the competition is so high that you got to be like ready to go fresh on the longer day.
I think it's still possible to combine it, but then you need to do maybe more tapering than normal for those races. And that means maybe you could be, you can't do that too often.
Yeah, you'd have to race less than what most series are asking people to do right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because again, with all those races, like your training is way different, but also you're constantly like building back up and tapering back down and building back up. And you don't want to do that too frequently.
It seems like before people are just racing maybe 1 or 2 races every weekend and you did like the whole summer.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how. I'd like, even in college when I was a distance athlete and the furthest I ran was the 3K steeple, like I raced like maybe 3 or 4 times a season.
But those races, you destroy your body completely. Like
so
when
intense.
you run in the trails, of course it's hard on the legs, but like it's not as bad as running on the track.
Yeah, the dirt is so different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even after the World Championships, like I was pretty sore, but I could have run the next couple days, if I had any need to.
Me too. Like often after these races, we have this kind of walking. I call it penguin walk. They're wiggling from side to side with straight legs, so you can't bend your knees. That's typical walking for me. Like after many of those races.
Yep. Whereas like after a steeplechase, like my whole body would hurt. Like my ribs would hurt, my calves would hurt, my shins would hurt.
I've never tried that before. It could be cool to try it once.
I think you'd be pretty good at it. I mean, you're a trail runner.
Sure. It's fun to try it. Like we have this with my running club. We have this track races for those of us that doesn't know what track running is.
Yeah,
I've been up there a couple of times doing some races. So we had this. Was one time we did the 800 meters, and then they had to explain us. We had to start in each line, and that after one curve, then everyone could go into the same line. But like still was someone running in the line number 8 or 6 or whatever at curve number 2. So you have to shout at him to come into the first line. So, but I think it's cool. Like we have no idea what we're doing, and it's awesome.
That is cool. How did you like the 800?
It was a shock for the body. I was done before I realized I started. So it was weird. But I think it's very impressive. Like when you look at television, it's like, it's fast, okay. But like when you do it and feel the race on your own body, then you see your time, and then you can look at television and see like the fast time. Then you understand like, whoa, this is actually serious. They're super fast.
Yeah. In my head, the 800 is like the equivalent of the VK in trail running. Yeah, it's just like it's short and it hurts so bad the whole time. You can't ever let up.
Yeah, but they must be training so hard on like pushing when you're tired to push like this barrier.
Yeah.
Also, like the 400 meters, it's crazy how fast how good they are to push their body to run with so much pain.
Yeah. My favorite workout that I used to give my 800 athletes was 4x400 at like race pace, and they would get like really big recovery in between, but they had to do 4 of them. And it's a workout that I would never want to do myself, but like It was a fun one to give them.
Yeah. So you're not joining them while they are doing the session?
Absolutely not. I would occasionally join for like some 10K workouts, do some 2-mile reps. But I was never an 800-meter runner, so that's a no for me.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, I'm thinking we got to get Stian in a steeplechase.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, being a trail runner, you'll be like pretty decent at hurdling because you're good at like sighting. And so you can like come up on a hurdle pretty well.
Yeah, we'll see. It could be fun to try it at least.
Yeah, just do a couple laps. You don't even have to do a whole 3K.
Yeah.
Oh man. So you have won the Golden Trail World Series twice now, in 2018 and 2021. But you were absent in the series last year. I am assuming it's because you were trying to train for Worlds, but I'm just wondering why you decided to switch away from the Golden Trail.
I've been running Golden Trail in 2018, 19. 20 was like this the Golden Trail Championship, and 21. So I felt like I'd done it now. And the series is most the same races all over again and again. So I was ready to try something new. And last year I went to Italy to do several races there. And Italy has so many awesome races. They are horrible at promoting the races. They have like marketing skills is like on zero. They're really bad on that, but they could have some fun races. They're not that when you do many of these other races, you have like the mandatory list is huge. But on this, it's like, you just bring your wind jacket, we won't check it, and you run on this crazy summit and down again. It's awesome.
What races did you do in Italy last year? Can do the promoting for them.
Yeah, I did one race in the La Sportiva Mountain Running Cup. That is, I'm not sure they have it anymore, but they have like some awesome races. So I did one that is called Ledro Sky Race. That is close to the Garda Lake, where they have Limone Sky Race. That is maybe more known race. That was fun short sky race of 20 kilometers or something. And then I did the Livigno Sky Race. But the best experience was to do Monte Rosa Sky Race. And that race I did with my girlfriend. Because that race you need you run on the glacier, then you need to be two, so you're attached with rope. And there you start at 1,100 meters altitude and run up to 4,500. So it's around 3,500 vertical meters up and down, with 35 kilometers. So it's like pretty steep up and down. It's awesome.
That sounds we had intense.
It was a fantastic day out there. So my girlfriend and I was running together, and that was one of my best running memories.
I'm glad that you say that that's one of your best running memories, because when I hear that, I'm thinking of my husband and I doing something like that together. And I'm not sure that we would have as much of a positive experience.
No, but like you're super fit. There's no problem for you guys to finish it and just have an awesome day out there.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It doesn't always have to be about like going hard.
Exactly. So for us, like for me, it was not that hard. For my girlfriend, it was very hard because it was less than a year since we've got a daughter, and she came straight from sea level, so no acclimatization. It's a difficult word. And then she had lack of sleep, and she had our daughter alone for 2 weeks before that, and she's been training like 2 hours or something the last month before the race. So she was not prepared at all, and she just pushed maximum from the beginning, and we made it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, and then another race I did in Italy was Trofeo Kima. There's also a fun race with some quite technical and steep sections. It's also a race I can recommend. But Monte Rosa Sky Race is that I think, most people that are like up and downhill should do that one.
That happened just this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw some footage. I think Tony McCann was out there spectating, and that's the first time I had heard of it. And I noticed that people were attached to each other.
Yeah, like it's one of the original sky races. So I think maybe that's where it started, or like among those races.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So you spent the whole summer in Italy, and so I'm curious how you went in terms of training for these sky races in Italy to preparing for Thailand, which was the World Championships last year.
Yeah, I had it in my mind the whole year, but last year of training was no good at all because our daughter didn't sleep well. From February, when my girlfriend stopped breastfeeding, we started giving her milk, like normal milk, and in September we figured out that was not a good idea. Then we figured out she is allergic to milk, so she was waking up 10, 15 times a night and struggle to sleep again. So it works like for a night or two, but like when it's been like month with bad sleep, then it has a huge effect on training and performance. So my goal for last year was to win the Sky Running World Championship and the Trail Running World Championship. And at the Sky Running World Championship in the beginning of or early in September, there my body just didn't work at all. So I started the VK, and that was only pain, and I struggled to run at all, and I ended up not starting the Sky Race. That was a big disappointment, but shit happens. And then we went home and we got some good sleep. And after a couple of weeks, I felt that my body finally started to recover. And from there, I had 5, 6, or I think 5 very good weeks of training before the World Championship in Thailand. So there, my training volume was huge, and I pushed myself really hard on the hard sessions. And luckily, it was enough for performing at the championship.
I mean, I'd say so. You had a great race.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. How big was your training block before the Sky Running World Championships? And then are your training blocks normally 5 to 6 weeks long?
No, before the trail running was around 5 weeks because that was the amount of week left to the race. So, but yeah, before now the World Championship here in Innsbruck, I was focusing on this for way longer. Like it's not like I can say like now I start training for this race. It's just I think the training for the World Championship starts several months earlier, but then you're training like for the whole season, and it gets more and more specific for the race the closer you get to the race.
Yeah. And so did you have to make like a pretty big shift in training from Thailand to Innsbruck? Because I feel like those were 2 very different races in terms of like the terrain and also just like the type of race and competition. Like I feel like the race in Innsbruck is probably more of what you're used to, whereas like Thailand was a little bit kind of weird for everybody.
Yeah. I've never been in Thailand before, either Innsbruck. So in Innsbruck, I didn't know anything about the trails. So I was very curious when I went down there. That's why I went down 2.5 weeks before just to check it out. But the main difference between the training for those 2 races was that I didn't do any heat acclimatization before Innsbruck. Before the World Championship in Thailand, I took my bike and went over to the clubhouse or for my running club, and there they have a sauna. So I just put my bike in there and turn on the sauna. I was sitting there and feeling miserable for an hour, and did that a couple of times, and that helped a lot for the heat in Thailand.
It's funny to hear you say that, because I heat trained for Austria, because as Dani knows, last year at Mont Blanc Marathon, the humidity hit me so hard because I live in such a dry place that when I was, saw like the average humidity for Innsbruck, I was like, I got to get in the sauna. I need to be prepared for this.
But it could be super warm in the valleys in the Alps.
It was actually, I mean, I don't know how you felt about the first 7-8 miles, but it was hot before it started raining.
Yeah, and I was so happy when I saw like the dark clouds up there, like, this is gonna be good.
Me too.
Yeah, the dark clouds probably feel right at home for you, where you're from.
Yeah, like Bergen, where I live, is known for rain. So when I go to races and say, "Hey, no, it's 5 degrees Celsius and rain," like, yeah, it's normal. So it's fantastic.
So you the Skyrunning World Championships were somewhat of a disappointment because you weren't really able to even participate because you were so sleep deprived. And then you have the 5-week cycle before the World Championships in Thailand, and you win. And so was then the plan to go straight into training for Innsbruck? Because I know you did Istria as well before Innsbruck.
Yeah. I took 3 weeks off doing no running. And then in December, I started building up the volume again. In January, February, March, I had a huge, I don't remember amount of hours, but I had like a big block of training and work. And yeah, Istria I did because I wanted to qualify for this UTMB race called OCC. So in order to do that race, I had to do this Istria race in Croatia. And that was fun. Like, I'd never been in Croatia before.
Yeah, no, that looked like a beautiful race, and it was cool seeing you finish with your teammate there, who's also new to ASICS. And so I also just want to touch on one more thing with Thailand. How did it feel to win? Because that was your first World Championship win, right?
Yeah, in trail running, I won back in 2016 in skyrunning. So that was fantastic and also emotional feeling to win that race. It was it was cool. Like, I feel it was a team performance with my girlfriend. So I feel that half of the gold medal is hers. So I think like the most right thing was that we will cross the finish line together. So yeah.
I love that. So your girlfriend is the president of Nordic Skyrunning, correct?
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
We met during during races. Like the first sky race both of us did were the same. That was the Dolomite Sky Race in 2014. But we didn't know each other there. We didn't met there at all. But and then she went like all in and did the Segama the following year, and a lot of races in Italy. She were the Italian skyrunning champion in 2016 or 17. I don't remember. So yeah, she is from Denmark, and she moved to Switzerland and stayed there for 3 years, running all the races way before I did. And I started a little bit later, and then we just met at races.
How long have you guys been together? So since 2014?
No, we've been together a little bit more than 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So everything went pretty fast.
Yeah. When did you guys decide to have a family?
Like we got together in, was it like January, February in 2020, and then COVID hits us, and then we maybe we pushed the rules about the COVID a little bit to go from Norway to Denmark a couple of times. We talked about it in August, and then she was pregnant in November. So it was quite fast.
Your guys'
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask who's the better downhiller.
Yeah, she's an awesome downhiller, and I'm more of an uphiller. So if our daughter should maybe start running, hopefully she gets skills from both of us.
It sounds like if she gets skills from even one of you, it'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll see what what's her interest when she become older. Like we won't push her to do sport. Like I hope she will enjoy nature. And she can do whatever she wants, but she will be with us in most races. So maybe she will find an interest in running. We'll see.
Yeah. So they usually travel with you to races?
Yeah, we've done that several times. So So most of the last years have been like they following me to races, but I also hope in the future my daughter and I will follow my girlfriend to races as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool that she has both mom and dad to follow around to cool places. What has been the most surprising thing that has come with fatherhood and training and competing that you weren't necessarily expecting?
Like lack of sleep is definitely one of them. But it's a big difference. Like it's not only me. Like I need to focus more on like we're a family and not like I can just go solo. So, but when I'm tired of the training sessions, my daughter just runs around, and like it could be hard just to stand on my legs and run after her when I'm tired. But besides that, it's not like a big difference. It's just it's nice. It's cool with like this small creature there running around, and like I never been focused that much on babies before, but when you have your own, it's special. It's so nice to see her learn new skills, and now she can understand everything we're saying. We can't understand her yet, but what she's saying. But it's super fun.
How old is she?
She is a year and 10 months.
Oh,
so now cute. She's running around, and she's super fan of jumping. that's
maybe
cool.
Yeah, maybe she'll be a basketball player or a track and field jumper.
Yeah, like basketball, definitely not. Like we're so short. Like I'm very low. My girlfriend's also low, and our daughter is like clearly the lowest person in the whole kindergarten. She's not the youngest, but the lowest. So
oh my gosh, I love that. So you guys getting to Thailand was a joint effort. Do you feel like it got easier like leading into Innsbruck, or was like the challenge of having a kid and training the same?
Yeah, I think it was much of the same. Like in Thailand, then she started going to kindergarten in, was it September last year? And since then she's been sick so many times. Now she's like less sick, so it's a good thing. But the last autumn was felt like my daughter and girlfriend had like a relay of becoming sick. For me, I was lucky, didn't take part that many times, but though they were changing all the times. So I feel sorry for them, but now it's getting a little bit better.
That's awesome. And you found out that she was allergic to milk, which I'm sure helped you guys adjust as well.
Oh, that helped so much. Like leading up to this skyrunning world championship, my girlfriend told me that, okay, now I can have 2 weeks of proper sleep before the race. And I was very kind of her. But during those 2 weeks, I just get more and more tired. When I started, I don't know why, but I was, super tired. And then 2 weeks after the championship, still sleeping well, then I start to recover. It took like 4 weeks of good sleep to recover from half a year with no sleep.
Yeah, I bet. Maybe you had finally gotten acclimated to living without sleep, and then you had to go back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, man. So then you leave Thailand, you've won it, and the next World Championships is like only 6 months away. Do you immediately just switch gears to Innsbruck? Like, and Istria was just a kind of like a tune-up, or like, I don't know. I'm just curious, like, how you thought about Innsbruck being the world champion and wanting to come back and win it again.
I try not to focus too much on Innsbruck before like New Year's. And after that, it was more and more on my mind, and more during my, especially, both easy and hard runs, I was focusing on thinking about this race. But I think it was good to have some weeks after Thailand just to try to doing different things, trying not to think about like, the next World Championship is, half a year away. So, but the focus on this race was greater and greater the closer I get to the race.
What were some key sessions that gave you some confidence leading into the championship? And did you have confidence that you could potentially win again?
Because I won in Thailand, then I knew it was possible to win in Innsbruck, but I knew it was hard. And I was very curious to see which runner that would show up. And I think the level in Innsbruck was fantastic. But I did some session I did were the same. Like I have a hill over here that I run first an uphill interval, and I jog easy down, and I do a flat interval, and I repeat that 3 times. And I did that this year, where I actually was running faster on all the intervals than last year. And I was like, okay, this is good. Then I was happy. Then I was like more confident.
So like for me personally, because I feel like these last 2 championships, they've always been really competitive, but I feel like people are starting to come back to them, maybe more than like, I would say 2017 to 2019, when everyone still felt like they were kind of spread out amongst the various competitions. Do you have an idea like why that maybe is? Or do you see that, like, or do you agree with that?
The thing is that back in 2017, I didn't know about the championship. I haven't heard about them, because I was doing only like the races my previous sponsor did. So I haven't heard about them. The only championship I heard of was the Skyrunning Championship, and this uphill by the mountain running organization. But these trail running races, I just recently heard of them. But I think that the organizations work together to make a bigger championship. I think that make the whole event bigger and maybe more important to people. And I think like the World Championship, in my opinion, should be the ultimate thing you can do in the sport. So hopefully they will get there.
Do you think that there's still room for improvement, and like with the World Championships? And I guess what would those improvements be if you could change them?
I think there are several things. Like, for example, they could give the same attention to men and women. Like what I heard, I haven't seen the live, but what I heard is that they stopped the live broadcast after woman number 4 was finishing. That means like no one saw you finish.
Yeah, my family was pissed because I finished 9th.
Yeah, a 9th, it's an awesome performance, and no one sees it. That's super sad. So that is definitely something they need to change. But I think what I heard with the live was very good. But so those things they have to have to make it equal. And then maybe prize money should be closer to what they have in the other biggest events. So maybe stuff like this. But I think generally it's a very good event. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think with the commercialization of the sport right now, like the best way to get the best athletes into the world championship to compete against one another, a big thing would be prize money, because there are just too many series out there now that offer better prize money, and all of these, events like overlap so often.
Yeah, but I think they also said that the championship should be before the 15th of June and after the 15th of September. So we try to avoid some of the other big events. That is maybe a good thing. But yeah, the prize money, if you just have like the same prize money, just add a zero at the end of that, and maybe that could help.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, this year, it's like weird as it was to have it in June, it wasn't bumping up against any other like series finales. Whereas like last year at Thailand, I know at least in the US, like that was a big issue for a lot of the people that were competing in the series. Is like they were like, oh, well, I'm not going to go to World Championships because I have Golden Trail, or like the other way around. And so, yeah, I thought that June was hot, but it was good.
Yeah. And it's I think it was good. Like for me, it was perfect. And like we can say like check now it's low shoulder, enjoy the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think for me too, something I was thinking about while you guys were all racing is if there'd be any benefit to the World Championships partnering with races that already have a lot of prestige to them, because the last couple of courses have been, in Thailand and Innsbruck. And Innsbruck was somewhat known because they have that trail festival. But yeah, that's something that I've just been thinking about if that would be possible, because I feel that a lot of the races that still get a lot of our attention have a lot of history to them and have, kind of a legacy. And then they also have prize money and added that to the end. Yeah.
Yeah, prize money it helps. Like for me, I'm not getting rich in this sport, but I think to get the best possible level, it helps a little bit. But first of all, have a good event. That's the most important.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, speaking of sponsors, you switched sponsors this year to ASICS. And we were just wondering if, one, it was cool to see you finish with your teammate in Innsbruck, or not Innsbruck, Istria, and the brand be so supportive of that, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, just talk about that decision process. I'm assuming it was hard being that you were with your previous brand for so long.
Yeah, like when I was decided to switch brand, my main focus was to find a team manager that I know is there for me, that is supportive, talk positive to me, and like it's a good person. And I came across this guy, team manager in ASICS, Laurent, a French guy. Super kind. It's a guy that is very supportive. And then I know several people in the team already, and they have like a good team spirit. They're there for each other, and this is what I'm searching. So I also met the team for the first time in the beginning of March. We had a training camp in France, and that was very nice. It's so many kind people, and they are a good atmosphere. And the race in Austria, in Croatia, was my first race with them. And I'm thrilled about being part of this fantastic brand. We are, to me, I think we are a very good team together. Like everyone there are at the finish line supporting each other. Someone are making the goals. Others are maybe have to stop the race, but everyone's supporting each other. And this is what I'm searching, and I'm very happy to be there. I know they have a good atmosphere in other teams as well, but I'm very happy to be with Team ASICS.
And I'm curious because in the US, at least, ASICS is definitely not like a go-to for trail running brands. Mm-hmm. What did you run the World Championships in?
I was running in a new model that will come in. I thought it was coming in June, but maybe it's August. So ASICS is very known for road running shoes. They are huge in that, and trail running is quite new. So they are not very known for those kind of shoes. It's also here in Norway when I run, people are looking at my shoes like, what is that? So, I'm very happy with the shoes. But with the model I was running in was called the Fuji Speed 2. Fuji is like the mountain they have over in Japan. So we like the trail running group or a team in ASICS is called Freetrail. That I think is, yes, it makes sense within ASICS, but I think Freetrail doesn't make sense to people outside ASICS. So I think ASICS Trail is maybe a better name for it. But so I was running this Fuji Speed 2. That is a shoe with a carbon plate, and I'm not sure that shoe needs a carbon plate, but I think it felt very good to run with it.
Okay, so I have it. Okay, sorry, I have a different question about shoes now that I know that there was a carbon plate in there. How do you feel about carbon in trail shoes? Because I personally, it does not work for me at all.
I think it depends on the trails you're running at. So if you're running, when you talked about earlier, like Marathon Mont Blanc and Sierra Canal, there's like fast races. There maybe it's a good thing. But in very technical races, maybe it's not that useful. But it depends also on the shoes, because last year I tried a shoe from a different brand that has a carbon plate. And I was very skeptic when I tried it. That is shoe designed for running in very technical terrain. But I felt like the carbon plate was more kind of protecting me than helping me to run fast on roads. So I still felt I had like good contact with the ground. So I think it depends how they are designing the shoe. Like most shoes now with carbon plate is has like a very thick midsole, and when you run in technical terrain, for me, I feel I lose the contact with the ground. Like the feeling is not that good, and I feel it's easier to twist the ankle. So so I like thinner shoes, but also like to run technical terrain. When we're running this race in Croatia, this Austria 69 kilometer, then it was there we were running a lot on gravel roads and on asphalt, and I was running with way too thin shoes, and then my legs were totally destroyed at the end. My teammate that I was running the race with, he was running with actually a road shoe of ASICS, but you just changed the outsole to a trail outsole. So and in that race that was working. Then it worked super fine.
We had a guy do that on our classic team. Actually, he had a pair of Nike, whatever their carbon shoe is called. I'm totally blanking right now, but he took the regular sole off and put a trail sole on the bottom of their carbon shoe. Yeah.
But it works if the race is super runnable.
Yeah. I feel like runnable for me. I never run races that I find to be runnable enough to wear carbon like pretty much ever.
Yeah. As long as you find shoe that works for you, that is the most important. And I think that is also maybe a little bit wrong when people are deciding what shoes they will use. You just go to a list and see this is like the best trail running shoes, but we all have different feet. So maybe the best shoe is maybe not good for you at all. Maybe number 7 is better. So we need to try it on our feet and run with them.
Are you getting to provide a lot of feedback to their product teams? Just because To me, ASICS is still growing in the trail section.
Yeah, now the sound was a little bit bad, but it was something about feedback to ASICS about the shoes and apparel or something.
Yeah. Are you going to provide that?
Yeah, we had actually, when we were in Croatia, we had the meeting with one of the designers. So we had like a 2-hour meeting, and I think I was talking constantly for 2 hours. And he was just taking notes, but he was happy afterwards. But I think the bigger the organization is, the longer it takes to make, like, from talking to them to finally something is happening. So I think, in smaller brands, that process goes way faster. But they are definitely listening, and I'm very curious to see what will come in the next years. So, but I don't know, like, the conversation we had now, and we still like communicate, like have some meetings now and then, and sending some emails. I'm not sure when those products will come.
That's
and for
really
ASICS,
exciting.
yeah, and for ASICS, they don't have that much prototypes. They're changing a little bit now to have like more prototypes, but in the beginning it was at least when I started, there was like only original, the thing you can buy on the market was like only that you should run with and use.
Dang, that's cool. Yeah, I'm interested to see when they're going to make a bigger push in the United States, just because they've been doing the bigger push in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a tangent question before we get more into the future and your schedule. But Stian is an incredible downhiller. Just watch any of the YouTube videos of him online. And I'm just curious, like, how would you, because you're talking so much about downhill and the type of tread of shoes and stuff like that, but like, what tips would you give to people who are wanting to improve on downhill? Like, top 3 things to focus on.
Yeah, I have to say, thanks for compliment first. But I think when I started learning downhill, that was during races, running behind good descenters. So there's a Swiss guy called Mark Lauenstein. He's an orienteer. He's fantastic downhill runner, super kind person. And I was running behind him in a couple of races and learned so much. That is tips 1, just run behind someone that is good at it. And then I think another good thing is to do downhill intervals. And that maybe sounds scary, but I think for most of trail runners, we focusing a lot on running flat and uphill. And I think that should be like the most time you spend is focusing on this. And running fast downhill, it can be very tiring on the body and require a long recovery. So I think downhill intervals should be a session that is very short for several reasons. One is like to have shorter recovery, and also to prevent injuries. Like if it's too long, then you can't concentrate and it's easy to do mistakes. But a downhill interval is, of what I've done, is a short interval where I run maybe, 1 to 2 minutes downhill. So I just go to the hill where I want to do the interval, and that hill should be maybe as similar as possible to what you're aiming for. That means, like, if you're doing a certain race, trying to figure out as much as you can about the downhills, and trying to see if you have a downhill that is something a little bit similar. And then I find like the finish line, and I walk up and find the start line, and then I just jog down. That is the first interval. And then you walk up again, and then you're trying to beat your own time. And then you do that 6-7 times, no more. And when I've done it with a friend. So we start the last interval with as a relay. So I've been a couple of seconds faster than him on when we done it, like in the second last interval, and then he starts those amount of seconds ahead of me, and there's the first one down to the finish line. And that is an awesome session. I suggest to everyone to try it because it's super fun. But make it short to avoid.
Oh, I don't know if it's just me, but I all of a sudden could not hear you on that.
Okay, now, yeah.
Oh, got you now. But yeah, no, that,
yeah,
you're good. Yeah.
Okay.
It may have just been me, but that sounds like a fun workout. And then you're also, if he's starting in front of you, you're doing the thing where you're like following other people downhill and learning from them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so I feel like we could probably chat all day, but let's wrap this up. Tell us what is next on the calendar for you and what does the rest of the year look like?
Yeah, let's see. We will, I will do maybe some local. Yeah, we'll do a 3,000 meter now on Thursday. Like this track racing club organized.
Yes.
For the first time in a long time, I will not show up with super tired legs. Normally, my legs are so tired when I go to this race, but I think it's a good speed session. So I will do that, and I will do Dolomite Sky Race because it's fun. So I will actually drive down from Norway to Italy. That is 36 hour drive. So it's a long drive. So my dog and I will go drive down to do that race. And then the following week, my girlfriend and daughter, they will fly down to Geneva, and I will pick them up, and then we'll hang out in the Alps until this UTMB. So I will do maybe a race the weekend after the Dolomite Sky Race. It's a race in the mountain running series, an uphill race. So maybe I'll do that, and I will do Comayeur double vertical. Comayeur is the city on the Italian side of Mont Blanc. So that'll be fun. And I will run OCC. And then our autumn is very unclear. I don't know how it will be yet. So yeah, I will decide about the autumn quite soon, but it's very open. So I've been thinking about doing Grand Templier. It's a race in France. And also ASICS has a race in November that is, I don't remember the name of it, but it goes to Lyon. It's like 86 kilometers, goes at night to Lyon. And it's a mix of road and trail. It's what I heard, but it's an ASIC event. So I think it could be fun to do it with the team. So, but yeah, that is what my season looks like at the moment.
What made you decide to go back to OCC? Because I believe last year you started CCC. Is that correct?
It was the year before.
Oh, year before. Yeah.
When I did when we planned to do CCC, then there was we planned like several months before, and then it's like, yeah, no problem. Like we will have our daughter maybe around a month before, should be fine. And then we got our daughter, was it 1.5 weeks before I was traveling? And I was not mentally ready to go from them at all. I started missing them on the way out from the apartment. So I should never been starting the CCC. And I also got pain in my knee quite early in the race. And then I should also stop there, but I was continued to run until kilometer, I don't know, 70, 80 or something. So that was, and I decided to stop because I don't want to get like bad injury on it. So, but yeah, UTMB is is the biggest stage of trail running, at least at the moment. And most brands are, at least for the bigger brands, are focusing a lot on this event. So it's a big thing for ASICS to go to UTMB. So the whole team will be there, and I think it's going to be a fun week hanging out with the team. And then I decided to do OCC because it's not that long. So, but we'll see. Maybe in the future I will try some of the longer ones again. But yeah.
Well, Dani and I will see you there. We're
you will be there?
Yeah, we're both racing OCC this year.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
But, Dani, you had done this OCC before, right?
Last year, yeah. Last year it was my first one and I got third. So I'm really excited to get back and see if I can do better.
So, sorry, I didn't know about the result because I'm horrible watching results. Like, I don't know my own results. Have you done it before, or have been at that?
No,
event?
I haven't been to the event because prior to this, I was an NCAA coach, so it was like right at the start of cross country season. But this will be my first OCC, and I'm stoked.
I think it's going to be fun. Like, I think the courses is okay. It's Chamonix Valley is beautiful, and the course is like, yeah, it could be nicer, but it's yes, a lot of people there, and the atmosphere is very good.
Yeah. I did Mont Blanc Marathon last year, so I know some of the course at least.
Yeah, then you know some of it, definitely.
Yeah.
So I think it will be fun, and like everyone is there. So it's gonna be cool.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to follow you for the rest of the season, and thanks so much for chatting with us today. And congrats again on your most recent World Championship.
Thank you so much, and congrats on your ninth play race in the championship. It was awesome. You did overtake so many at the last part of the race.
Thank you. I do really enjoy climbing, so when I saw people struggling on the climb, I was like, now's the time.
There's your playground.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been the Sub Hub. Oh, Dani, you had something?
Oh, I was just going to say congrats too. But yeah, this has been the Sub Hub brought to you by Freetrail.
Okay, thank you so much. It was very nice to talk with you guys, and I'm looking forward to meet you in Chamonix.
Absolutely.